I just put out a video where I rambled on about comics, especially DC, Marvel versus manga, differences, whatnot. One of the points was, I asked, is manga collectible? And I referenced you'd probably be better off buying Shonen Jump, the Japanese versions, than manga from a collectability standpoint. Even in that, I was wrong. You'd be better off buying anime figures. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you some examples. I was just looking at some Violence Jack by Go Nagai. And Violence Jack, well, Go Nagai, first of all, is a pioneer of manga. He's not, the first, but he's right in that sort of the first wave of mangaka from back in I think even the late 60s and 70s. But if you look at Violence Jack, for example, that was the first apocalyptic manga that ever was published. It sort of created that new genre of survival and the apocalypse in manga. Fist of the North Star, for example. Let's look at some prices. It's about, I think it's a little cheaper than the price of a new manga that you can buy off of Amazon. And this is from 1984. The question is manga collectible? No, not really. I can't say it is. But then again, it's like most books are not really collectible. Like, I'll give you an example. The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Classic. You can't argue that that's not a classic of children's literature. Like, this is the third printing of the first volume. About 150 years old now. It's in pretty good shape. Went for $500 US. Okay, now let's take a $500 comic book. So here's one. It was published this year, 2023. This is the 1 in 100 Virgin variant CGC 9.8 by artist Ivan Tao of The Scarlet Witch #1. Now you think, okay, it's her first appearance. No, this is not The Scarlet Witch's first appearance. Her first appearance was in X-Men #4, which was from 1964. I mean, there's no comparison between the two. When it comes to cultural relevance here, it's not even close. If you look at manga, it's actually, if it's super popular, like My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer, they're going to print those things like crazy. And they're always going to keep printing them. So, is it ever going to be out of print? No, probably not for a long time. So this is the biggest factor in determining a manga's value is availability. So it's only those ones that go out of print and out of stock. And even out of stock, it's like it goes up for a little bit, like Chainsaw Man, for example. Like a couple years ago, you couldn't find any Chainsaw Man because people were hyped about it. They didn't print enough. The prices went up. You had some scalping going on, so you might have had like $40, $50 for a volume. Then they just printed more, and it drove it right back down to, cover price again, right? So that was out of stock. It's not out of print. So if you're willing to wait long enough, the value will go down. And that's the other factor. So there's availability, and then is there the possibility of a reprint coming? Here's another example, Nana. Very popular manga, but that was out of print for a long time, and the values reflected that. But then, based on its recurring popularity, they just reprinted more. So, guess what? That went back down to cover price. Even though you might have first prints of it, and they might be doing second, third, fourth prints, whatever. But if there are those second, third, fourth prints available, your first print isn't going to be worth as much, right? Because it's now available. So, and like I said with manga, people just want to read it. They're not really too worried about first printing. Like if you go onto eBay right now and you look for Chainsaw Man first print, good luck finding any. Like nobody's listing first print Chainsaw Man because nobody cares. The other reason comics aren't real, or manga's not really valuable, is there's no certified guarantee grading service. like CGC, CBCS, anything like that, like no encapsulation. So it hasn't hit like that kind of collectability phase. So will there ever be one? Probably, but who knows, right? Maybe, maybe not. Just depends if they think they can make money off of it. I just wanted to finish off this one. Just say, basically manga is like book collecting, right? So there's not, yes, there are book collectors. It's not like comics. Comics are the rarity. They're like sports cards, basically, right? Same thing. Like pure collector's market, pretty much. Books aren't like that. Books, yes, there are book collectors, but most books really don't have a huge value. Unless it's like handwritten by J.K. Rowling, and there's only 7 in existence. Tales of Beedle Bard, by the way. Yeah, that's incredibly valuable, but it's because it's super duper rare. It's funny, like the one book in my lifetime that's somewhat valuable would be Rage by Richard Bachman, who's really Stephen King. And the main reason is because Stephen King will never allow Rage to be published again. So it is literally out of print. The author has strictly forbid it being reprinted. Manga's, same way. It's basically, if it's out of print and people are positive it's out of print, it can gain value. The other example is like if you look at Mushishi, it was published by Del Rey Manga. Now the reason Mushishi is valuable is because Del Rey Manga went out of business. They don't publish manga anymore, right? So that's pretty much the guarantee, at least that particular version of Mushishi will not get printed again, and thus people know there's not another version coming out of it anytime soon. It's not like there's a high demand for Mushishi, so we're just going to go back to the printer and make more. No, they won't, because there's no Del Rey, and Del Rey had the rights for that. So the other manga that's valuable is those limited editions. So if you look at like the One Piece shiny gold foil metallic limited to 5,000 copies, yes, that is valuable. So unless it's like a very collector's edition limited print run and this is all we're going to make, otherwise you just never know when it's going to be reprinted, right? So just to reiterate, is manga collectible? No, it's really meant for reading. It's still a book. Books are for reading. Comics have kind of shifted over to the collectosphere, as it were. But anyways, I'm going to get to my Hot 10 video coming up here. So thanks for watching again, and thanks for listening to my thoughts on the subject, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.